Yes, indeed. B Marsh Boxing back at it with another boxing video with Goody Boxing heads and fight fans around the world. So, as you can see in the title, Cannoli has been granted a voluntary. So, the WBA is ordering that Jamel Charlo and um, Triple G, they've been ordered to fight by the WBC. Now, you know the WBC is having their annual convention over there in this year it's in Kiev in the Ukraine, you know what I mean? And this is when they usually, get together WBC, former WBC and current WBC champions. They go over there in different countries around the world and have a little, like a convention, a conference, and this is where the WBC reveals their rankings and mandatories and who is in the top 10 or top 15 in every and each division, you know what I'm saying? And the WBC, they announced, like I said, in Kiev, Ukraine, that Canelo can make a voluntary defense of his WBC title in his next fight. You know what I'm saying? And that they've ordered that WBC former WBC champ Gennady Golovkin face Jamal Charlo. And Jamal Charlo, as we already know, is the WBC interim 160-pound champion. You know what I mean? So, I'm sure for a lot of people who ain't hip on all these belts, and I don't blame you, it could be a little confusing, you know what I mean? But, the man, Jamal Charlo, he won the WBC interim middleweight title when he knocked out Hugo Centeno Jr. in 2 rounds, you know what I mean? I believe that was in April. You check it. So, this is a good fight, man. This is a good fight. A fight that Triple G had been avoiding when he was champion, but the WBC ain't taking no shorts, you know what I mean? And I'm not gonna press WBC for not making Jamel Charlo fight the man Canelo immediately. You know what I'm saying? When a champion wins, especially in the WBC, they don't have to fight a mandatory immediately. You know what I mean? That's Deontay Wilder. He ain't gotta fight his Mandos next. He got a voluntary. You check it after beating Luis Ortiz, you know what I mean? And the man Canelo, you know what I'm saying, he's been granted a voluntary defense. That's all good with me. I don't mind that shit, you know what I mean? But, Jamel Charlo and Gennady Golovkin, I'd love to see that fight, you know what I mean? But again, this fight, it sounds too good to be true. The WBC, they trying to make it for the fans, you know what I mean? But it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough to see Triple G in the ring with Jamel Charlo. You know what I mean? I'm sure Triple G and a lot of fans around the world who are Triple G fans, they want to see a trilogy. You know what I'm saying? They want to see a trilogy, and believe you me, the man Canelo would rather fight Triple G than anybody else. You know what I mean? Right about now, he knows he could beat him. He brings him the biggest paydays that he could get right now fighting any opponent. You know what I mean? So that being said, Triple G versus Jamal Charlo, that might
Mm-hmm.
not happen if the man Canelo decides, hey, well, you know what? Forget about the WBC belt, man. I'm not even down with that VADA testing 24/7, 365. Come test me any and everywhere on some random shit. I don't even like that. That's Canelo's logic. So he could drop that WBC belt. Don't gotta administer the VADA protocol, and he could fight the man Gennady Golovkin for a big payday in a trilogy without the WBC belt. We all gonna watch. Casual's gonna watch. Hardcore's gonna watch. You know what I mean? So that's just where I see that heading. You know what I mean? If Triple G does go in the ring with Jamal Charlo, the interim champ, I'll be shocked. You know what I'm saying? I'll be surprised. You know what I mean? Triple G didn't even want to fight Devchenko, but then again, he got his title stripped because he didn't face his mandatory. The IBF, they don't play that stuff, you know what I mean? But hey, it didn't matter to him. The man, Triple G, man, the man made over 30 to $40 million fighting Canelo. What's a belt to him that he got to pay sanctioning fees, you know what I mean? So that's that with Canoli, you know what I mean? And Canoli's trying to fight in December. He's trying to fight in December. He's trying to fight David Lemieux in his first title defense after getting this title again, you know what I'm saying? He's had this title before when he beat Cotto for it. So, and if the man if Alvarez beats David Lemieux, he must face the winner of the mandated fight between Gennady Golovkin and Jamal Charlo, excuse me. But then again, I'm not too keen on that fight happening. You know what I mean? I'm not. Let me see what fella's talking about in the chat. Hop, what's happening, man? What's good with you, son? He says, "What's good, B Marsh? This is a good fight." I'd say that's an understatement. Yeah, it's a very good fight. JT Williams says yes. JT Williams says every day. Will it happen though? JT Williams says Charlo. Great question, man. Don't get too excited, you know what I mean? Because fighting for Triple G to fight Canelo, I'm sorry, Jamal Charlo, there's not much, it's not a lucrative fight like fighting Canelo, you know what I'm saying, in fights which were close. You know what I mean? I thought the second fight was, Triple G I'm sorry, Canelo all the way. I didn't see, no way Triple G was even close to winning that fight. But the first fight, I had it a draw. But I didn't. If I had to give it to any winner in the first fight, I would have given it to Triple G. You know what I'm saying? I ain't see Canelo winning that fight at all. Period. But I scored it a draw on my scorecard, 6-6. So Hop says, serious question. Bear with my ignorance. Would you explain sanctioning fees to me and how they work? Yeah, well, these champions, I can't really speak for guys who hold minor WBC titles or WBA, whatever the case may be. But for the real champions, they got to pay a sanctioning fee any and every time they defend that title. You know what I mean? I believe it's like 2% off they purse. You know what I'm saying? So 2% off their purse goes to the sanctioning body. It might be more. You know what I mean? I believe the WBC is probably the highest. I think their sanctioning fee is like 3%. You know what I mean? So that's how the sanctioning things work, sanctioning fees. You know what I'm saying? That's how these sanctioning bodies make money, and that's why, like, especially the WBC, they like to have a cash cow, you know what I mean? So a cash cow will always give them a nice chunk of change every time they defend that world title, you know what I mean? So that's how these sanctioning bodies make their money. And the WBA is most notorious for having numerous champions. They could have three champions in one division, like I don't know. I know in the featherweight division, they just eliminated uh, with Leo Santa Cruz eliminating Abner Mares, who Abner Mares had a world title, and just on the undercard of Manny Pacquiao versus Matisse over there in Malaysia, they had a Filipino guy fight for that very same title that Abner Maris got beat for. 2-3 years ago, the WBA said that they're gonna make an effort in the next 2 to 3 years to eliminate all these regular and world titles and just have one super champion. I said I believe it when I see it, and we're here in 2018, and they ain't made no progress yet. Okay. JT Williams says, sorry, I'm a new subscriber. Thanks for coming through, JT Williams. She says, I'm a female also, just love boxing. Yes, we all do. That's why we here, you know what I mean? That's why we talk boxing on a daily basis, you know what I'm saying? We all fans of the sport. Well, thanks for coming through, new subscriber. I appreciate that. And I hope to see you more on more videos. The boxing junkie. He says, I just came on and thumbs up, people. Yeah, hit that thumbs up, people. Don't come in the room eavesdropping. It's a good ratio. 5 people, 4 thumbs up. I ain't mad at that. Hop says, so the WBC will get 3% or so from the proceeds of Wilder Fury. Yes, indeed. They will from the champion. You know what I'm saying? They will from the champion. JT says, yes. You know what I mean? So that's one story I had to cover, you know what I mean? And the WBC, like I said, over there in Kiev, Ukraine, that's not where they are annually. I can't remember where they were last year. But you know, they have these conventions and they have former current champions come over there. I've seen a lot of videos, been watching. I see Marvin Hagler, I've seen Vinny Paz. Even though Vinny Paz never had a WBC belt, I seen Ricky Hatton, another guy. He never had a WBC belt. But anyways, great fighters. Nevertheless, we had over there Amir Khan, Eric Morales. We who else was there? Sean Porter, out of current champions. He was over there. He's still over there. You know what I mean? So Speaking of Sean Porter, I heard also in that convention that they're going to order Sean Porter versus Keith Thurman too. You know what I mean? That's a good fight right there. The first fight, I had that fight a draw, 6 rounds apiece. You know what I mean? And that's a fight that I'm sure Keith Thurman, I'm sorry, Sean Porter would prefer rather than Errol Spence. You know what I mean? Because it's a fight that you know, I thought it was a draw. You know what I'm saying? So the WBC should be ordering that fight and another fight which is more closer to my heart than most of these other fights that I'm going to mention that have been ordered by the WBC is my champion over here from the DMV. Matter of fact, from the DC, Maryland area. My guy from Capitol Heights, WBC world champion, Gary Russell. Gary Russell has been ordered to make a mandatory defense of his title against fellow champion, WBA champion, Leo Santa Cruz. You know what I mean? Now, Leo Santa Cruz and Gary Russell both fight on the PBC Showtime. That's a fight that has to happen. That fight gotta happen this year. I love Gary Russell. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't get a lot of credit for taking that loss to Lomachenko. Some people thought it was a wash. It was a much closer fight than a lot of people make it out to be. And even the man Gary Russell did drop Lomachenko in that fight, and they didn't call that as a knockdown for whatever reason. I don't know. With that patented right hook that he has, you know what I mean? Go watch the fight again, if you don't believe me. Um, but Gary Russell is very, very, very inactive. You know, what I mean, he fights once a year, and by him only fighting once a year, he can only fight mandatories. He got no opportunities to fight voluntaries. You know what I mean? Because he only fights once a year. That's why he's defended his belts against Jojo Diaz, Oscar Escandon. You know what I mean? And there's other good champions in the division, and I'd love to see this fight between Gary Russell and Leo Santa Cruz. Gary Russell beat him in the amateurs. This the pros. It's a whole different ball game, and both of these guys have one loss apiece on their record. Both guys are very good fighters. You know what I mean? Very good. Leo Santa Cruz is a multiple division champ from bantamweight to super bantamweight to featherweight, and the fight gotta happen. You know what I mean? So like I said, man, Gary Russell's been mandated to fight Leo Santa Cruz. You know what I mean? Gary Russell's a 2008 Olympian, and he's just fought 3 times since he beat Johnny Gonzalez. You know what I mean? To claim that WBC title. You know what I mean? So that's a fight right now. You know what I mean? That gotta happen. Hopefully, God willing, fingers crossed, they put it on that Deontay Wilder versus um, Tyson Fury pay-per-view undercard. It's only right. And Gary Russell, you're gonna have to bite the bullet. You know what I mean? You my guy, but you got to do what DC native and Hall of Famer, one of the greatest flyweights ever. You know what I mean? African American too. And you got to tell me how many African Americans in history be in them flyweights and divisions. You know what I mean? Very, very, very seldom. You know what I mean? But Mark Too Sharp Johnson, the youngest guy ever to go into the Hall of Fame, he was known for fighting over there in California and beating up a lot of Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? Just like Roger Mayweather, you know what I mean? These guys were fighting and building their name off fighting Mexicans over there in the West Coast. And Gary Russell, you can channel your inner Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Go over there to Los Angeles. Go fight the man Leo Santa Cruz in his backyard if they put that fight in the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and bring the titles home back to DC, man. Bring it back to PG County, Capitol Heights, Maryland. You know what I mean? That'll be a beautiful thing, man. Just if you listen to this video, Gary Russell, and I'm gonna throw you a tag in this video. You gotta make that happen. You know what I mean? Some people are not high on Gary Russell right about now for reasons I mentioned, inactivity and just fighting mandatories. But you gotta like Gary Russell's skill set, you know what I'm saying? Gotta like the hand speed, you know what I mean? That's one thing about the man Gary Russell that is exciting, his hand speed and his right hook. His right hook is one of the best punches from a southpaw in boxing, and he ends people. He knocks people out with that punch, and it'll be a beautiful fight. Can the man combat the man and counter the man Leo Santa Cruz's volume punching? You know what I mean? That's where clash of styles. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? And you know me, I'm gonna be rooting for my guy Gary Russell Jr. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? It'd be a beautiful fight to make, you know what I'm saying? And right now, Leo Santa Cruz has no mandatories because he beat his mandatory Abner Mares. The man, Gary Russell Jr. has a mandatory or a number one contender. The number one contender in the WBC is a guy by the name of Mark Mag, Magsayo, a guy from the Philippines, 18 and 0, 13 KOs. You know, so let's make that happen. Put that fight on the WBC on that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury undercard. See what fellas saying that in the chat. All right. Hop says, thanks for explaining that. No question, no doubt about it. JT Williams says, will you attend the Tyson Fury fight in Los Angeles? Me personally, I don't think I'm going to be attending, you know what I mean? To be honest, you know. Um, might be taking another vacation in December. That's one of the reasons, you know what I mean? Personally, I never even considered going over there to Los Angeles to, but I'm going to support the fight. I'm going to buy the pay-per-view. It's going to be Deontay Wilder's first pay-per-view. The first time we've had a pay-per-view in the heavyweights since who knows when. Maybe Showtime, you know, Showtime had pay-per-views like Evander Holyfield and James Toney. You know, in HBO, the last major pay-per-view from the heavyweights was probably Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. That's a long time ago. You know what I mean? Um, JT Williams says no. Sean versus the Truth. Yeah, well, Sean Porter doesn't want that fight. He doesn't want to fight the Truth. You know what I'm saying? You can't fight anybody. You can't force anybody not to fight at people, but he doesn't want to fight the guy. You know what I mean? You know what he says? He says, we could fight, but we don't got to fight. I don't got to fight for the IBF because his reasoning is he says, oh, when I lost to Kell Brook, the IBF, because he was the IBF 147-pound champion, he had beat Devin Alexander for that belt. He said, "Oh, after he lost to Kell Brook, they dropped him from the rankings. You know what I mean, from the IBF rankings, and he wasn't even in the top 15. And by him saying that, he says, you know what? That's disrespectful. I don't even want to fight for the IBF ever again. So his reason for saying, oh, I fight Errol Spence, but we don't got to fight for the belt. We don't got to fight for the IBF. Yeah, well, I'm not dumb. I'm not a dummy, Sean Porter. You're only saying that so you could fight the man Sean Porter in a fight, excuse me, Errol Spence in a fight with no titles on the line. So if you lose, you can just go back and you can still say you're world champion and you got your your WBC strap. It's the same kind of way, but this wasn't Lamont Peterson's logic, you know what I mean? The fight was at a catchweight, if I'm mistaken, when he fought Lucas Matisse, all right? You know, he was the IBF champion. He got knocked out in devastating fashion by Lucas Matisse, but he still kept that IBF belt because the IBF belt wasn't on the line. You know what I mean? It was just like Lamont Peterson and Danny Garcia. Both guys were champion, IBF champion in in Lamont Peterson and Danny Garcia was the WBC and WBA unified champ, but they fought at a catchweight and the titles weren't on the line. But this fight, this guy Sean Porter talking about, he want to fight Errol Spence with no titles on the line. So if he lose, he can just still claim he's a WBC champion. Nah, dogs, that's what we not gonna do. I'm not buying that, Sean Porter. So that's why I made a DuckTales video about him. Go check out my series here on YouTube. It's in my playlist, DuckTales. I give a DuckTales award to fellas who out here ducking. All right. JT Williams says, I agree it was a draw. Yeah, that fight was a draw. Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter. Hop says, Gary Russell, great talent, no doubt about it. Fast hands, just the footwork, though, is not the best. You know what I mean? His footwork doesn't match the hand speed, and that's how Lomachenko beat him, to be honest. JT Williams says, Leo Santa Cruz, yes, but Gary Russell is up and coming kid that doesn't get his just due. Yeah, Gary Russell, man, he's been a pro since 2008, man. He ain't no up and coming kid no more, man. Gary Russell is 30 years old now, you know what I mean? You know, it's time to step on the gas, you know what I'm saying, and try to unify. You know what I mean? And I'm sure he wants that fight. It's a guy he's beat in the amateurs. But like I said, it's a whole new ball game in the pros. Okay. Boxing Junkie said, did I miss something about Charlo and Canelo? Well, yeah, Charlo is the WBC interim champion, but the WBC has ordered that Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, face the man Jamel Charlo, and the winner of that fight gets to face Canelo. But I mentioned that I don't know, I don't see Gennady Golovkin fighting Jamel Charlo, no, and I can see the man Canelo dropping, vacating that WBC belt in order to fight the man Triple G with no WBC belt involved for a big payday for both guys. Cop says, when is Keith Thurman supposed to return to the ring? Well, I've heard rumors that he might return to the ring on the undercard of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, and he might be facing Riverside Rocky, Josecito Lopez, or Zab Judah. That's what I've heard. And I haven't really heard any truth to that. These are just the rumors, you know what I mean? MB says Thurman not fighting on the Wilder card. He's asking Thurman not fighting on the Wilder card. That's what I heard, that he might be fighting Riverside Rocky, Josecito Lopez, or Zab Judah on that undercard, but we're yet to find out. Hops is asking MB. I don't know. It's not listed on BoxRec yet. Nah, not yet. MB says I don't know. I don't know. That's what I thought they might do, but there's there isn't going to be a lot of money left to pay Thurman on that Wilder card either. Yeah, that's a possibility, but Keith Thurman can't be expecting to make $1 million fighting Zab Judah or Riverside Rocky, especially being out the ring since March of 2017. It'll be almost 2 years, a whole 2 years, a whole two calendar years by the time he does get in the ring, if he does by December. So depends. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not too sure who's going to be on the undercard. There's nothing official yet. I just heard rumors that Gary Russell Jr. versus Santa Cruz will be on that undercard, and Keith Thurman versus what's his name, Riverside Rocky or Zab Judah. All right. So that's that for that, and for the WBC, I got one more WBC story from the convention over there in what you call it, in Kiev, Ukraine, where Vitaly Klitschko is the mayor. All right, so the WBC Rankings Committee revealed, it like I said, it revealed its monthly list during its 56 annual WBC convention. You know what I mean? And the super middleweight division is up for it's going to be different now because David Benavidez, who's the WBC super middleweight champion, last week he came up positive for cocaine. He tested positive for cocaine in a random drug test, administered by VADA, Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, and this was on August 27th. You know what I mean? And the random test was given to Benavidez because he's enrolled in the the clean boxing program from the WBC. So the WBC decided to make Benavidez the champion in recess, and he's no longer the real champion. He's a champion in recess. You know what I mean? So what the WBC is doing is Anthony Durrell, who is number one and the number one contender in the rankings. He was supposed to be fighting. He was the mandatory, matter of fact, for the man David Benavidez. They were supposed to fight at some time before this year ends. David Benavidez, the champion, but he's been demoted now. He was supposed to fight Anthony the Dog Durrell, former WBC champion, but now they making Anthony Durrell the number one contender in the WBC rankings, fight the Turkish guy Avni Yildirim. Now you might remember Avni Yildirim. He fought Chris Eubank Jr. in that World Boxing Super Series tournament in the 168 division tournament. You know what I mean? That Callum Smith just won last Friday. And I'm gonna read you some quotes from Yildirim's promoter. His name is Ahmet Owner, and he says, and this is about his position with the WBC. Quote, after this situation of what happened to Benavidez, Anthony Durrell and Avni Yildirim can fight each other for the vacant title, and then the winner can fight also whoever WBC orders. You know what I'm saying? So, this is going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting to see. I was just about to make a video about the man, Anthony the Dog Durrell, and I was about to make a video and say, Anthony Durrell You need to look up to guys like Callum Smith. Callum Smith took a chance on himself. Callum Smith was ordered. Who was the WBC champion? It was Badu Jack. He vacated his 168-pound title to move up to 175. So Callum Smith versus Anthony the Dog Durrell was ordered by the WBC. The fight was supposed to happen in Los Angeles. Then last minute, Anthony the Dog Durrell talking about, oh, he wants the fight to happen in his home city in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or Flint, Michigan. Excuse me, Flint, Michigan, where he from. So there was a lot of complications. There was delays in the negotiations. So you know what Callum Smith did? Callum Smith said, "Fuck this shit, man. I'm going up to the World Boxing Super Series tournament." He believed in himself. There was only one title available in that tournament. That was the WBA. And guess what he did? He completed the tournament, won the trophy, the Muhammad Ali trophy. He's now the Ring Magazine champion, and he got himself the WBA belt when he knocked out George Groves in 7 rounds. You know what I mean? The man took a chance on himself. And that's what I was about to do today, make a video about Anthony the Dog Durrell. You need to look up to guys like Callum Smith because you don't believe in yourself. And I made a video about Anthony the Dog Durrell. I tore him a new one last year. He don't want to fight nobody. And guess what? Him stalling around, matter of fact, you know what happened? Um, when Callum Smith went to the World Boxing Super Series tournament, the WBC ordered the Dog Durrell to fight David Benavidez. That man ain't want no parts of the David Benavidez. He ain't want to fight him. That's why David Benavidez fought that guy Ronald Gavril, the guy from the TMT Mayweather Promotions, in that first fight, which was a close fight. I thought he won, but he got dropped, and he ain't looked good in the later rounds. But he came back in the second fight and he beat him in the rematch convincingly. Now this is why I had to tell the man Anthony the Dog Durrell a new one because he don't want to fight nobody. But look what now. All that stalling around, bullshitting, doing a whole lot of nothing in the last year. Look what happens. He gets a World Boxing Council WBC opportunity to fight for the world title against a guy who's very limited, in my opinion, in this Turkish guy, Avni Yildirim. Very limited, you know what I'm saying? And he's possibly going to beat this guy and call himself a world champion again, you know what I mean? And that's that bullshit about the man Anthony the Dog Durrell. Why, I never rated the guy, you know what I'm saying? I thought he lost twice to Sakio Bika, you know what I mean? So, the Anthony the Dog Durrell just gets another opportunity, a golden goose opportunity, just land right on his lap for stalling, bullshitting, and doing a whole lot of nothing while Callum Smith went into the tournament and he worked his ass off, got that trophy, the money, and the belts, you know what I'm saying? While the Dog Durrell ain't want to leave his comfort zone, you know what I mean? That's why I don't rate the guy, Anthony the Dog Durrell. But on the positive side for the man Yildirim, if Yildirim does win, he'll be the first. I think this is the first. He'll be the first guy ever. Um, he'll be the first Turkish guy who will fight for the world championship in history. So no Turkish guy or fighter from Turkey has ever even participated in a world championship fight. That's crazy, man. It's crazy, Turkey got a long history, man. The Ottoman Empire, they've had a long history, man. Constantinople from a long time, you know what I mean? These guys, you would have thought they would have had some boxers. Only really other Turkish fight I could recall right now, Selçuk Aydin. Selçuk Aydin, that's a guy who fought the Ghost Guerrero, and he was a contender a few years ago for the welterweight division. You know what I mean? And he got knocked out by Victor Postol. That's what actually put Victor Postol on the map. That knockout he put on the man Selçuk Aydin. You know what I mean? And then it also, with that being said, the man Callum Smith is also the WBC Diamond Champion for whatever that is. You know what I mean? He's a Diamond Champion. That's why he had a WBC belt the night he beat George Groves. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, man. It's interesting to see how this guy, the dog, Anthony Durrell, just locked up and is in a world title opportunity yet again. It'd be an upset if the man Yildirim beats him, but we shall see. You know what I mean? So let me see where I left off in the chat. MB is asking Jesucito Lopez. MB Hop says MB says okay. I read that already. Hop says would love Santa Cruz versus Um, Russell Jr. Yeah, let's pray that fight gets made because that fight's been on the horizon for years now, man. For years, for at least two, ever since Russell became a world champion, and that's 2015. You know what I mean? So it's been on the horizon for like 3 years now. So they gotta make this fight happen. You know what I mean? So yo, B Marsh Boxing. Let me know what you guys think about these WBC rankings. Um, in the light heavyweight division, Adonis Stevenson's the champ. He's gonna face his mandatory. What's his name? Alexander Gravsdek or Varzik, however you pronounce it. That's a fight. That's a very good fight. The first mandatory fight for Adonis Stevenson. The first time he's gonna face a mandatory since 2013, when he beat up Tony Bellew, beat him up bad, knocked him out on his feet. And some say, oh, Stevenson don't be fighting mandatories. Well, he's had mandatories who've ducked out on him. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was guys like Jean Pascal, who was, you know, asking for too much money, overpriced himself. Whether it was guys like Kovac, who was a WBC mandatory, was forced by the WBC and in the two purse bids to fight Stevenson, and he ducked out of two purse bids. So that's in 2015, 2016. And I'm saying, like, who's the man supposed to fight if his mandatories are ducking? He's now in there, and Elite Alvarez. Elite Alvarez was a guy who wasn't taking the Adonis Stevenson fight. He was more comfortable. Let me put this on mute. Sorry about that for everybody listening. Turn off my notifications. Jean Pascal was a guy that's the guys that Elite Alvarez chose to fight. You know what I mean? You know, guys who were over the hill, Jean Pascal and Lucien Boutte. And I ain't mad at him because you know what? Those are good fights to boost his profile in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Beating two former world champions and quote unquote Canadian legends as far as world champions in Canadian boxing history. You know what I mean? And Adonis Stevenson, he was the man. Him being the mandatory. You know what I'm saying? I think mandatories they get a 75-35 percent split. You know what I'm saying? 75-25 or 70-30. That's the kind of split that they mandated again. Nothing more, nothing less. If a guy wants to give more, like maybe Triple G and Danny Jacobs situation, where Danny Jacobs wasn't down with that 70-30. He wanted a 60-40, and he fought for it and he got it. You know what I mean? But Danny Jacobs could do that because Danny Jacobs had beat Peter Quillen, a former world champion, a guy who was undefeated at the time, and it was a big fight. You know what I mean? And he knocked him out in one round. You know what I'm saying? You check it. Unlike guys like Elite Alvarez, who hadn't really, done anything special at the time. Yeah, they beat Jean Pascal and Lucien Boutte, but I expected Alvarez to win those fights. That's why, you know what I mean? Them fellas wasn't gonna get more than what he was offered, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he went the easier route and he went and beat up Kovalev. Just like Bernard Hopkins thought Kovalev was the easier route rather than fight Adonis Stevenson, and he learned the hard way, you know what I'm saying? It's not a secret or it's not a coincidence why some of these fighters went the other route. Let's face Kovalev rather than Stevenson. If Stevenson is old and 41 years old, probably turning 42 sooner than later, then wild guys ain't really trying to fight the guy like that. You know what I'm saying? Badu Jack stepped up to the plate. Badu Jack being the much younger fighter. I had Stevenson win the fight, but I ain't mad at the draw neither. You know what I'm saying? The fight could have gone either way, but Badu Jack couldn't get the job done neither. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll see if Gravsdick can. Very good fight. Gravsdick's going to be being trained by Teddy Atlas. You know what I mean? So we shall see. We shall see. You know what I'm saying? What will happen? And actually, matter of fact, that fight's going to be on December 1st on Showtime. They're going to put it on live from Canada, December 1st on Showtime. That fight is over. Then they're going to switch off. If you've paid for your pay-per-view, it's going to be before the Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury pay-per-view December 1st. You know what I mean? So looking like it's going to be a good October. I'm not too sure so much about November. October's going to be lit, man. This is going to be the first weekend of October, this weekend, and there's numerous fights. I don't even know what off the bat, but I believe better beats fighting. There's gonna be a lot of fights, man. Believe you me. So yo, B Marsh Boxing, leave your thoughts and comments. Let me know what y'all think about these WBC rankings. And I'm out of here. Peace.